The contract literally pulsed against the candlelit mahogany desk, its gold-dinked signature glowing brighter with every heartbeat in the room. Arden's breath caught in her throat as the final clause shimmered into view. Previously invisible until now, 5 blood drops had been the price. Hers, in the event of a soul fracture. All identities, memories, and affections shall revert to pre-binding state. The words seared into her mind as Lucy and her husband by contract. Not Love stood in the doorway, his black suit damp from the rain, lips parted in horror. "You read the fine print?" His voice was quiet, deadly. Arden backed away, the contract curling like burning paper even without flame. "You said I had nothing to fear," she whispered, the air around them thickening like fog laced with magic and something ancient. "Then love, older than law." Lucian didn't answer. Instead, he stepped into the room and the blood-stained mirror behind him cracked slow, precise as if the truth itself had been watching, and finally had enough. She had signed to escape ruin. But now, the contract wanted to collect, and love, it seemed, was the first thing it intended to destroy. The first time Arden met Lucy in Vale, she was barefoot, broke, and soaked in wine, literally. She'd spilled an entire tray of vintage noir down the lap of a foreign investor at the gala of House Virenth, her 3rd catering job that month. Her last, if the look from her manager was anything to go by. Lucian had seen it all. But instead of laughing or turning away like everyone else, he handed her his embroidered handkerchief and said, with a grin carved from charm and secrets, "Tell me your name so I can write it into something more permanent." She had laughed back then, because it was ridiculous, because billionaires like him didn't notice girls like her, because nobody offered permanence to a woman who lived off expiration dates. But 3 weeks later, she was sitting across from him, in a candlelit estate, signing a contract. "Marriage for mutual benefit," he'd said. "Your debt's gone. My inheritance unlocked. We both win." What he hadn't said, that the contract was drafted by the veiled notary, an ancient magical broker who made deals with blood and breath instead of lawyers and ink. He hadn't said that each signature carried binding magic that the terms would etch themselves into bone and memory, making false emotions feel real, and real ones feel like poison. He hadn't told her that he once loved someone else, and that the contract demanded love again, or consequences far worse than heartbreak. But Arden, desperate and grieving her mother's recent death, didn't ask questions. She just signed, and felt nothing but relief. For a while, they lived in the mansion like strangers who sometimes smiled. She had her own wing, her own staff, designer gowns she never wore, meals served in silence. Lucian was colder than rumor suggested. Handsome, yes, but haunted. Sometimes she'd catch him staring at the grand piano in the atrium with a look that could kill music itself. Sometimes she'd find him outside in the garden, whispering names to the wind, names that weren't hers. Then the dreams started. Not hers, his. He'd cry out in his sleep, begging someone named Alira to stay. His fingers would twitch like he was reaching for something. His magic, because yes, all noble families had magic. But his was sealed until the contract unlocked. It would flicker like dying candlelight. Arden began to wonder, was she really the first? One night, curiosity won over fear. She followed the sounds of the piano to the West Wing, a place Lucian had forbidden her from entering. There, she found a portrait, half shredded. The woman in it had her eyes. And that's when it began unraveling. The contract didn't just bind wealth. It bound timelines, memories, identities. Arden wasn't the first. She was the fourth. Lucian had signed this contract before. 3 times. With 3 different versions of her. Every time it reset. Every time he lost her. Every time the cost was greater. But this time the clause was different. This time, if she remembered, the fracture would begin unraveling every soul-tethered memory, shattering every false feeling the contract forced into their hearts. And now, she'd remembered everything. She remembered being Alira, the runaway healer who nursed Lucienne back to life after the siege of Eldramore. She remembered being Sienna, the daughter of his enemy, who married him for peace and died in his arms anyway. She remembered being Mirren, the thief who stole the contract scroll and tried to rewrite fate, only to vanish in a burst of Blackfire. And now she was Arden. The last chance, the final version. But remembering meant death. It always had. Still, Arden wasn't like the others. They had loved Lucian blindly. She saw him clearly, now powerful, cruel, aching. A man who kept binding the woman he loved because he was too afraid to grieve her. And now the fine print had changed. She had changed, but so had the contract, because this time someone else had signed it too. Someone who shouldn't have. And that someone wasn't Lucian. The contract had always been between 2 souls, the one who loved too much and the one doomed to forget. But this time, there was a 3rd signature. One written in invisible ink, sealed with salt water. Not blood. Arden found it by accident. After the mirror cracked and Lucian stormed out, she returned to the study alone. The contract lay there, curling. At the edges, its magic still humming. And then faint, beneath her own name and Lucian's, another line shimmered into existence. Not in gold, not in red, but in ink that shimmered silver blue like moonlight on ocean waves. It read, M. Vale. Her breath froze. Vale, not Lucian, but Marcellus, his brother. The brother who died 7 years ago during the Ivory Wars. The brother whose portrait had been removed from the Great Hall. The brother Lucian never spoke of. But there it was. His name. Right there, under hers. He had signed the contract. The room tilted. Arden stumbled back, memories rushing like floodwater. Marcellus. The shadow in her dreams she never understood. The man with sea glass eyes who kissed her beneath a storm in a memory that wasn't hers, but somehow still felt like home. And suddenly it clicked. Every life she had lived hadn't just been bound to Lucian. They were all caught between. The brothers. Every time the contract reset, something, or someone, tried to rewrite the outcome, and now Marcellus had returned because someone knocked on her bedroom door that night. Not Lucy. A man in a cloak soaked with salt water, face hidden. Arden, he said through the door, voice hoarse, shaking. They lied to you. Her hand froze on the doorknob. Who are you? He whispered back, the one who let you go, and regretted it in every lifetime since. She flung the door open, but he was already gone. Only a seashell lay at her feet, pulsing with leftover magic. She took it to the library. The moment she placed it near the old atlas, ink swirled across the page-shifting coastlines, rewriting dates. Islands appeared where none had been, and in the center, marked by the same silver-blue ink, Carrion Isle, the Lost Kingdom. The one Lucian claimed was myth, but Arden remembered it now. Alira the healer had fled there. Sienna, the peacemaker, had tried to escape to it. Marin, the thief, had died trying to find it. And now, Arden knew, that's where Marcellus had hidden. That's where the original contract had been forged. Not between her and Lucien, but between Marcellus and the first version of her soul. Lucien had stolen it, twisted it, used it to win wars, inherit lands, and bend love to his will. And now the cracks were showing. Because Arden didn't just remember she felt it. The magic inside her wasn't reacting to Lucien anymore. It was rejecting him. But when she touched the shell, her whole body hummed. And the worst part? Lucien knew. He stormed into the library the next morning, fury wrapped in velvet. "You've been dreaming about him again, haven't you?" "He?" growled. She held his gaze. "Who? The brother you said drowned?" His jaw twitched. "He's dead." "Then why is his name on my contract?" A silence. Deadly, thick. And then Lucien broke. He slammed his palm down on the table. A ripple of cursed wind bursting outward, blowing candles and scrolls into the air. "Because he was meant to have you," he shouted. "Because he found you first. Because you loved him first. But he was weak. He let you die. And I rewrote the terms. I made it so your soul would come back again and again to me." Arden backed away, horror crawling up her spine. "You changed the contract." Smile was a knife. "I made you mine." And then he said the words that twisted everything. "But I didn't know he signed it too." Arden's heart dropped. "You mean Lucien's voice dropped to a whisper? He signed the back page. The binding page. That's why it's all falling apart now. 2 bloodlines, 1 soul, and a contract that doesn't know who to obey." Suddenly the house groaned. Literally groaned, as if it were alive. Walls shifted. The lights flickered. The chandeliers swayed. Lucien looked up, eyes wide. "It's begun," he said. "What's begun?" "The fracture." Outside, thunder cracked with unnatural force. The ground trembled. "Your memories. They're waking up the original magic. The contract can't hold 2 truths at once. It's either me or him, and it's choosing." Arden clutched her chest. Her heartbeat was speeding up, but not from fear. From recognition, because in that moment she saw it, a vision, Dot herself on a boat, Marcellus at the helm, the wind, screaming, her hair flying, her mouth forming 3 words she couldn't deny: "Take me home." And then she gasped, because in her hand she was holding something that didn't exist in this timeline yet. A newborn. Wrapped in silver blue cloth. Dot, a child. His child. The contract hadn't just bound her memories. It had bound a future. That was never meant to be. The fracture spread like wildfire through the manor. The very walls whispering secrets they shouldn't. Shadows lengthened, twisting into shapes that looked like memories made real. Arden could feel the magic bleeding from the contract. Pulsing with a chaotic heartbeat she couldn't control, Dot, rumors began to swirl outside the gilded gates. Villagers who had long whispered of the Vale family's curse now told darker tales. "Have you heard? The blacksmith's wife hissed to her neighbor in the market square. Arden's lost her mind or her soul. Some say the house is haunted by her own reflections, trapped between past lives." "It's true," a barkeep added, voice low. "And the last time the Vale's magic fractured, the whole village paid." Inside the manor, the atmosphere was suffocating. Lucien paced the great hall. each step shaking the marble floor, his temper fraying like worn silk. "The contract is breaking down," he admitted, voice tight. "And if it shatters completely, then what?" Arden demanded. "What happens to me? To the baby?" His eyes darkened. "The magic could erase you. Or worse, trap you forever. In one of the past lives, unable to wake." That night, as rain hammered the stained glass, Arden's dreams became battlegrounds. She found herself caught in an endless loop of ballroom where Alira, Sienna, Mirren, and Arden danced but never finished. Each woman's face twisted in agony as a ghostly figure watched from the shadows. "Who are you?" she shouted. The figure stepped forward, revealing a face she knew but couldn't place, half familiar, half terrifying. "I am the prophecy," it said, voice like cracked ice. "The curse you carry is not just blood, but fate." The next morning, a mysterious letter arrived, sealed with an unfamiliar crest to intertwined serpents biting their tails. Inside was a scroll written in archaic script. "When the soul is torn between brothers, the land will bleed and the heart will break. Beware the moon's silver light, for it will reveal the traitor's face." Arden shared the scroll with Lucien, whose jaw clenched so tight it looked like he might crush the parchment. "This means nothing," he insisted, though his hands trembled, but the prophecy's words echoed in her mind. And then came the visitor she never expected, Marcellus. He appeared at the manor gates at dawn, soaked by the storm but eyes blazing with desperation. "You need to listen," he said urgently. "Lucien lied to you. The contract was never about possession. Then what is it about?" Arden asked, wary but unable to hide the flicker of hope. "Balance," Marcellus explained. "Our families. Magic depends on equilibrium. The contract was meant to keep peace between us, but Lucien corrupted it with greed and fear." Lucien appeared behind them, voice cold as winter. "He wants to undo the contract entirely, and if he does, then the curse will consume us all." The tension exploded. Words flew like daggers, accusations, old betrayals, broken promises revealed under the storm's fury. "You abandoned me." Lucien spat at Marcellus. "You left me to die. And you stole everything from me." Marcellus shot back. Arden stood between them, her heart fracturing as the brothers tore at each other and at her. Then a sudden flash of silver blue. Light flooded the room, and the contract itself rose from the desk, glowing fiercely. "Enough." The voice of the notary echoed deep, ancient, unmoving. "This pact is binding and eternal." The room fell silent, yet the notary continued. "The prophecy foretells a fracture not just of magic, but of hearts. The choice must be made. One soul, one love, one fate." Arden's eyes widened. "Choose, Arden," the voice whispered. "Choose your truth, but beware, for the wrong choice will doom us all." And just as the moonlight broke through the storm clouds, illuminating the contract's last glowing words, a scream shattered the silence. Lucien's body collapsed, pale as death, eyes wide with terror. "He's been poisoned," Marcellus said grimly, "and the traitor is closer than we think." Arden's breath caught. The fractured magic wasn't just tearing their pasts apart. It was pulling enemies from the shadows, and the moon's silver light had revealed the face of betrayal. The news of Lucien's poisoning spread like wildfire through the village and beyond the manor gates. Whispers filled every corner, at the market stalls, the tavern, even the grand halls of the city's elite. Some claimed it was a curse. Others swore it was a deadly family feud finally spilling blood. Arden found herself the eye of the storm daughter. Phone buzzed endlessly with messages, strangers tagging her in rumors, and fans demanding answers she couldn't give. The internet exploded with speculation. Was she involved? Was Marcellus back to claim what Lucien stole? Or was there something darker at play? The villagers, once wary but respectful of the Vale family, now looked at her with suspicion. Children crossed the street, mothers whispered behind hands, and the tavern's usual laughter turned to fearful murmurs. At the manor, the household was fractured. Servants avoided eye contact, the staff whispered in corners, and trust evaporated like morning mist. Arden singled quotes as closest allies. Her childhood friend Mira and the loyal but secretive housekeeper Greta stood by her side, but even they were shaken. Arden, you have to be careful, Myra warned, her voice trembling. Everyone's watching, and not everyone wants you to survive this. Greta nodded. There are forces here older than the contract, child. Dark magic that feeds on fear and betrayal. Arden's heart ached, not just for Lucien, who lay unconscious, trapped in a poisoned haze, but for the family torn apart. The brothers' feud had become public, and with it, the cracks in the Vale legacy were laid bare at Lucien's bedside. Marcellus paced, guilt and determination battling in his eyes. "This is my fault," he whispered one night. "If I hadn't returned, none of this would have happened." Arden reached out, her fingers brushing his. "We all have a part to play. But right now, we need to survive." The media caught wind of the poisoning and descended on the manor like vultures. Cameras flashed, microphones thrust forward, demanding answers. Lucien's carefully guarded secrets were ripped open, exposing the fragile truth beneath. How? "Do you respond to allegations of betrayal within the Vale family?" a reporter shouted as Arden left the hospital. She stopped, her voice steady despite the storm raging inside. "Okay, this is a family matter. It's painful, and it's private. But one thing is clear. Love and loyalty will be tested, Dan. I intend to fight for both." The back in the village, the tavern became the center of gossip. Old men who remembered the last fracture told tales of blood and sorrow, warning that the curse could destroy everything if not broken. One evening, as Arden walked past, she overheard a heated conversation. "She's no innocent," a man growled. "Signed away her soul, and now this, the child she carries." "Is it even human?" His companion shuddered. "Dark magic, that's what it is. The kind that steals futures and twists hearts." Those words cut deeper than any blade. Arden returned home that night to find the manor quiet but heavy with tension. Greta awaited her in the sitting room, a folded letter in her hands. "This arrived for you," she said softly. Arden unfolded the parchment. The script elegant but unfamiliar. "To the soul bound by contracts old and newbie, we're the shadow that walks among you. The traitor is closer than blood, and the child you carry holds the key to salvation or destruction." Arden's breath hitched. Was this a warning, a threat, or a prophecy? The weight of it pressed down on her. She thought of the child, the innocent. Life caught in a war far older and darker than she had ever imagined. The next morning, she confronted Marcellus. "Who sent this?" she demanded. He shook his head. "I don't know, but it changes everything. The traitor might be someone we trust." Lucien's condition worsened. The poison worked like a slow tide, dragging him into unconsciousness. Arden sat by his bedside, memories of their fractured pasts flooding her mind, each life, each love, each betrayal. She realized that surviving this wouldn't just mean saving Lucien. It would mean breaking the curse, binding them all. But the question remained, who was the traitor? And what price would the child pay? The family was left divided, the villagers terrified. And Arden caught between love, loyalty, and a destiny she had never asked for. And as night fell, the moon cast silver blue light over the manor, illuminating secrets that refused to stay buried. The manor was silent but alive with tension. Arden stood in the great hall, the letter's warning burning in her mind. The traitor was closer than blood, closer than she dared imagine outside. The moon bathed the estate in cold silver blue light, casting long shadows that seemed to watch her every move. She paced, heart pounding. Her fingers brushed the contract's edge, still glowing faintly on the desk. The very paper hummed with restless magic, as if it knew something she didn't. Then came the footsteps, slow, deliberate. The ones she had heard so many times before, but never welcomed. Lucien appeared from the darkness, pale but awake. His eyes were sharper, colder, and filled with something new, something dangerous. "Arden," he whispered, voice rough but steady. "There's something you need to know." Her breath caught. "What?" she asked, bracing for another betrayal. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "The poison. It wasn't meant to kill me." Arden frowned, confused. "It was meant to wake me." Before she could respond, Marcellus entered, face pale and tense. "Wake you from what?" Arden demanded, Lucien's single quotes as gaze flicked between them. "From the spell that binds us." The room seemed to grow colder. Shadows deepened as if absorbing his words. "There is more to the contract than we realized," Lucien continued. "It isn't just a binding of souls. It's a prison. For me, for you, for Marcellus." Arden's heart hammered. "A prison?" "Yes," Lucien said. "The original magic trapped us in an endless cycled one life, one betrayal, one death over and over again." Marcellus stepped forward, eyes hard. "And the child you carry," he said, voice heavy, "is the key to breaking that cycle." Arden's hands trembled. "But at what cost?" Lucien's gaze darkened. "The child could free us, or destroy everything." Then Lucien did something unexpected. He reached into his coat and pulled out a small, ancient box sealed with the same silver blue ink as the contract. "This," he said, "is the true contract. The one Marcellus and I made before our lives were rewritten." Arden stepped back. Shocked, Lucien opened the box slowly. Inside was a delicate ring, carved with the intertwined serpents from the scroll. "The ring holds the original magic," he said. "But it's cursed. Whoever wears it will be bound to the contract's fate." Arden's eyes widened. "Are you saying one of us has to wear it?" Lucien nodded. "To break the cycle, to end the curse, one of us must take the burden." Before anyone could respond, the doors burst open, Greta standing there. Face pale, eyes wide with terror. "Arden," she gasped. "There's someone at the gates, a stranger." Arden exchanged a glance with Lucien and Marcellus. "Send them in," she said, her voice steady despite the storm inside. Moments later, the visitor entered, a young woman cloaked in shadow, eyes glowing faintly with silver blue light. She bowed her head. "I am Alira," she said quietly, "the last keeper of the original contract." Arden's breath caught. Elaratha, healer from her past lives, the one who had fled to Carrion Isle. "You're alive," Arden whispered. Stunned, Elira nodded. "And I bring a warning." The contract's magic is fracturing faster than anyone imagined. She looked directly at Lucien. The poison was a test to see if the magic could be awakened. Lucien swallowed hard, and Alira's eyes darkened. It can. But only if the bearer of the ring is ready. Arden's gaze fell on the ring again. There's no choice, she murmured. Alira smiled sadly. There always is. Then, in a voice barely audible, she added, but beware the real enemy walks among you. Arden's heart skipped a beat. Who? Eyes flickered toward. Arcellus, not who you think, she whispered. Someone you trust. Someone who wants the contract's power for themselves. The room froze. Marcellus's jaw tightened. Lucien's eyes narrowed. Arden's single quotes S. Mind raced. The moonlight outside grew brighter, almost blinding. And as the silver blue light filled the manor, the contract on the desk began to glow fiercely, its magic alive, unpredictable and hungry. The fate of their souls, the child, and the entire Vale legacy hung in the balance. And one question burned in Arden's mind. Who could betray them all? The screen fades to black. A final whisper echoes. The war is just beginning. Wow, what a roller coaster. The web of secrets, betrayal, and magic keeps getting deeper, and the truth about the contract is more dangerous than anyone expected. Arden is caught in a battle where every choice could mean life or death, trust or betrayal, salvation or destruction. With Lucien poisoned but alive, Marcellus's loyalty in question, and Alira's sudden return, nothing is certain anymore. So, what do you think? Who do you believe is the real traitor lurking in the shadows? Is it Marcellus, or someone no one saw coming? And what about the child? Will they be the key to breaking the curse, or the catalyst for the final destruction? The stakes have never been higher, and the clock is ticking. Make sure you hit that like button if you're hooked on this twisted tale. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next explosive chapter, where all the secrets will start unraveling. And seriously, drop your theories in the comments below. Who do you trust? Who's hiding something? And what should Arden do next? Your guess could be the key to cracking this mystery wide open. This story is far from over, and the next part promises even more jaw-dropping twists, dark magic, and emotional drama. So stay tuned, because you won't want to miss what's coming. Until next time, keep your eyes open. 'Cause in this world, trust is the most dangerous magic of all.